Good morning to our audience who are watching. Welcome to the fifth episode of the Digital Talk series. My name is Bong Chansambat. I am Deputy Director of the Center for Inclusive Digital Economy at the Asian Vision Institute, which is an independent think tank based in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. For those of you who are new to our program, the Digital Talk is a series of virtual discussions hosted by CIDE that serve as a platform to disseminate expertise, experience, and knowledge on topics related to the digital economy in Cambodia and around the globe. Today, we are talking about cloud-based business solution and the digital economy. And I am fortunate to have with me a highly experienced female tech entrepreneur, Ms. Mausa Paulin. Ms. Paulin is CEO of SO Cloud Solution LLC, a US-based technology consulting firm specializing in sales optimizations and digitalization. In addition, she is a certified Salesforce administrator with over a decade of experience working in customer relationship management, strategic communications, and emerging markets in the US and across the Asia Pacific region. Before we really start, I want to inform our audience that all opinions expressed by the speaker in this session are those of our guests and do not necessarily represent the views of ABI. If you have any questions for our guest speaker, please feel free to drop them in the comment box down below, and we will try to address them during our sessions. Good morning, Ms. Paulin. How are you?
Hello. Good evening from Stockton, California. How's everything going in Cambodia?
I'm doing good. Everything is getting better, slightly better in Cambodia right now. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from California. We really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Okay, so let me start by the first question. Can you please define cloud-based technology for us? And can you also explain how it works?
Yeah, sure, Jansambat. And first of all, I just want to say Jurib Sua to everyone, to you as well. And thank you so much to the Asian Vision Institute for this honor. I'm very honored, so thank you. Yeah, so I mean, to your first question, I think in the year 2021, I think cloud-based computing has come such a long way from when it started in the early 2000s, which I don't know if some of you might be very young, but for me, I do remember, in university, not having a lot of cloud-based technologies, but cloud-based technology is essentially a technology that exists, as we say, in the cloud. And that means, everything is kind of web-based, internet-based, and so it's all of your data secured, within these cloud-based servers that are located around the world. And so, it starts anything that we use like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the way to enterprise-based cloud systems that a lot of companies use, which I'm happy to kind of touch on in a little bit, Jansamat.
Thank you so much. Okay, how many types of cloud solutions are there that are being used around the globe?
Well, I think when we look at cloud-based solutions, the involvement of them has really come a long way. I think that there are several types, and one caveat I want to mention is that for me, my background is coming from a cloud-based company called Salesforce, based here in San Francisco, and mostly focusing on the business-to-business side of cloud-based computing. But I mean, I know that there's a lot of solutions for consumers as well, like you and I, Jansambat, like Facebook, right? Or Google Cloud, Dropbox. And there's so many cloud-based solutions out there. But really, I think the main concept is that everything is, obviously reliant on the internet. And so that's something that we'll talk about a little bit later on, and how cloud-based technologies are really going to help companies and industries really grow and scale their business. But I mean, with cloud-based technologies, there's so many of them out there right now. I think, especially from our mobile apps to really huge cloud-based systems that run even governments. We talk about e-governments, we talk about enterprise-based cloud systems. We talk about even things that you and I use for our families to manage our day-to-day tasks. And then I think you and I earlier talked about COVID-19 and how a lot of countries and a lot of economies were able to use cloud-based technologies to really continue running the country and continue to support, the people and businesses.
Thank you. My next question is has to do with the roles of cloud technology. So, what role does cloud technology play in the digital economy?
Oh yeah, so that's a great question. And one thing I'm really passionate about is that honestly, Jensen, like I think right now with the way the digital economy is growing is that you cannot, especially if you are an entrepreneur, especially if you're in business, there's just no way that you can function today in 2021 without anything that's cloud-based. I mean, if you look at what the pandemic did to our daily lives, for example, like keeping in touch with family, we need technology to keep us working still with our colleagues, to keep business running, to keep in touch with our families and check on them and their, health and safety. So I feel that, it's so important, it's so critical right now. And that's why I think that as Cambodia develops into the future, as well as, countries here like the United States, like being able to understand cloud, be able to have the skills is so important. I feel that there's just no way getting around it. I mean, you can probably get by with doing things that are manual, but I mean, really, if you want to scale, if you want to grow, if you want to still be in existence, it's really tough not having a cloud solution for anything.
So, how can corporations and also small and medium-sized enterprise in Cambodia and other parts of the world actually benefit from the cloud technology?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at small businesses like a local vendor, say for example, a street food vendor in Cambodia and Phnom Penh, for example, right, to a large corporation, a large conglomerate, you have to have some sort of cloud-based technology nowadays. And I think with the pandemic of 2020, Jensen, but I think it forced a lot of people to really embrace technology. It was like they were forced to do it. So for my experience, I was actually in Cambodia last year during the pandemic, when the coronavirus was spreading so fast across different countries and the world was really in a terrible state with the pandemic. I was in Cambodia and I was able to see how a lot of businesses there, local businesses, they were able to use a lot of cloud-based technologies, like, for example, the delivery apps, right? And they were still able to really pivot their business strategy to adopting a cloud-based app so that they can still stay in business, right? Because even though people couldn't go outside, people wanted contactless delivery, people wanted food to be delivered or, necessities. I think that, I lived in Cambodia, actually. I was in Phnom Penh during the pandemic. And so I can speak first-handedly, how I was able to survive, being able to, still have the things that I needed. So, I mean, anything from a small coffee shop to a large company, if you don't have a digital solution, you're probably going to suffer. I mean, I don't like to use like scare tactics, but it's very true. And I think also then coming back to the United States, I came back in November of 2020 and, I grew up here in the US and I was gone for 4 years. But what I really noticed, Jensen, when I came back was the evolution of how companies here move to a digital solution. So for example, like McDonald's or Starbucks coffee or stores where you go in and you buy things, right? Here in the US, what I noticed when I came back was that everything was on the mobile app. So even McDonald's, Starbucks, before you could just walk inside McDonald's, you could walk inside a Starbucks, you could go to a Walmart, buy the things that you use every day, like, shampoo or soap or anything for home. Now, what a lot of the large companies are doing is they're allowing customers to just order and pay through their mobile app. You get to the store, you wait in your car, you just let the store team member know that you've arrived, and then they will bring your items to your car and there's no contact. You don't have to go inside the store. So I feel that the pandemic really forced companies and businesses, not just in America, but also in Cambodia, to really adopt mobile strategies, and even here in the United States, people wanted to buy a home. Before, if you want to buy a home, you have to go and look at the home. And with COVID-19, nobody wants you in and out of the house, right? And so everything had to be done using technology. So I don't think we're going to go back, to be honest, because I think now with the pandemic, people are so accustomed to doing everything online. Like for myself, now I don't go and wait in line at Starbucks, but I order my coffee on the Starbucks mobile app. And then I know, by the time I get there, all I have to do is just go inside, pick up my drink. I don't have to touch anything. I just go, I get my drink and I come out, So small businesses, large businesses, you have to have a cloud-based strategy.
Thank you so much. So as we know that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected not only the private sector, it has also impacted the way that national governments around the world operate. So I would like to pivot from the private sector to the public sector. So my next question is, what role does the cloud play for the development of e-government in Cambodia?
Okay, so I think definitely one of the things that I've learned in seeing more countries that have adopted cloud-based government solutions. And so definitely public sector, there's so much innovation that can be done for the people. I think that whether it's Cambodia, but definitely e-government services, things that we would have to go and, bring in a piece of paper, wait in line. I feel that there's a lot of innovations that can be done. That can be very, the process can definitely be a lot more efficient, safer. Also utilizing technology to do a lot of the things that are so manual. So what that requires, Jansambat, is the willingness to change, I think, in terms of adopting cloud-based technologies, going from something like having people come in and checking in on an iPad, on a tablet, versus everything having to be like on paper, right? And so as we know, public sector, government services, maybe, registering for things like, your car, your license plate, your ID cards, anything like that. I think that government e-services has a huge opportunity to really make a lot of innovations right now, especially with the pandemic and especially with people being home. And I think my experience living in Cambodia is a very well connected country where you can basically get Wi-Fi anywhere for the most part, right? In Phnom Penh, if you live in Phnom Penh, every gas station, there's Wi-Fi and connectivity is so available. I think that there's a huge opportunity there, and I would love to see Cambodia have a lot of public sector related like services for the people. I think that would really help a lot.
So drawing from your experience of living and working in Cambodia, in the US, so in your opinion, in what way, at what levels have businesses in Cambodia embraced the cloud technology?
Yeah, well, I think my 2 years there, I think what Cambodia has done a wonderful job is a lot of companies are really looking towards how do they innovate and then how do they scale. Because one of the things that I talk to, and this is just from my personal work experience, I advise a lot of companies, especially in their strategy of how they want to take their business to the cloud, to the next level. I think number one is really just that efficiency, Jansamara. I think technology, it's only good as how it can help your business. And so where I really kind of focus my passion on is really helping business owners to truly look at what is their process, what's the technology, and then also what's the human capital, because we cannot talk about the digital economy, we cannot talk about innovation and cloud-based technologies if we don't also address the people. It's got to be the vision, the system, the process at the company, and then the people as well, right? And so all of those things, it's like a four-legged chair, right? You have to have those four things in order for it to be very successful. You can buy the most expensive technology, you can, you know, throw so much money into a technology, but if your people are not willing to adopt the new technology, or if your people don't have the correct skills, or if maybe your company itself, you don't have the right operational procedures, you don't have the process in place, it's really difficult to have a successful adoption of any technology. The challenge that I see is that in order for the digital economy to really kind of get that jump start, is I feel that there needs to be a shift in how people adopt technology and also are willing to kind of change the way they do business. I think we, of course, paper and pen is always kind of the basic thing, or sometimes, my specialty is I'm advising on, customer relationship management, Jensenbot, and that's kind of my experience at Salesforce, which is the #1 CRM company in the world, is really, it's how do you use technology to grow your business in sales, in revenue operations, in finance, in supply chain management, whatever it is, right? But if you don't have the right processes at your company, it's like you buy a very expensive car and you don't know how to drive it because you never really understood where you want to go, and you don't know how to operate this car, right? And then the driver who's driving your very expensive car doesn't really know, how to operate the car. Then it's really challenging.
I would like you to give one specific example of how
Mhm.
cloud technology allow businesses to optimize their profit and their sale, and also their customer relationship management.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk about that. So I think one of the things that a lot of times I speak with the actual owners of the companies, whether it's the chairman of a conglomerate, the country director, or the actual business owner of a small business. As a business owner, their vision is really to, #1, keep their business alive, and secondly, grow it, right? You grow it to the point where you can actually automate, Jansabat. And once you get to the point where your business is growing, you cannot clone yourself. So you have to find a way where technology is going to help you scale your business and automate a lot of the things that you do so that you are more efficient. And so one of the examples I can think of is just being able to also manage your team remotely. So I feel that, the benefit really of having a strong cloud-based, whether it's a CRM or an accounting system or any supply chain management, inventory management system, it allows the business owner to really have the power of data. And I don't think a lot of business owners really understand that yet. Is you really have to understand the data in your business. You have to understand what's the total number of customers, when are you the most busiest, what are your top selling products, why do your customers come to you, what is the thing that you're like. I feel that is still lacking a lot in the kind of like a lot of the Cambodian kind of the business leaders. I think it's just that knowledge and understanding of data and how they can harness the data to really make decisions on their business that's really truly facts based. Because I feel that a lot of times as business owners, and I do this myself as a business owner, is we use our emotions a lot, or sometimes we use our like assumptions. Sometimes it helps, but sometimes it's not really the right way. You really want to make decisions based on analytics, data. I always tell my clients, if you cannot measure something, how do you improve it, right? So you really have to have like a strategy of how do you want to harness the data? How do you want to collect the data? But then how do you want to use that data to really make decisions for your business? And it could be anything. Again, like I said, it could be marketing decisions, sales decisions, hiring decisions, And then also too, I think what's really important is the reliance right now on people. So when you are a business where you're relying heavily on people, keep in mind, Chansambat, that we're human. You and I, we're human. We make mistakes. We forget. We have errors. That's part of being human. We're not robots. So in order to improve accuracy or maybe be able to scale out, is you really want to take some of those manual processes that you're relying on a human to do, is if you're able to have a cloud-based solution to do it in a way that is almost perfect, but then also allows your human resource to do things that only a human can do, right? So I know there's always this kind of like debate between like, okay, well, if you're replacing people with technology, then what are people going to do? I strongly believe that you will never get rid of people. I feel that there are a lot of important things that people still have to do, like the human to human connection. I feel you can never replace that. Like no robot or no AI is going to replace me and you having a conversation and being able to feel the emotions. But there are a lot of things that I feel cloud-based solutions can automate and really help with, where you're not relying on someone to show up for work or to do that job accurately, right? Where you can really have that accuracy and scalability.
So we've been talking about the way that cloud technology work for business, and we look at specific details. Now I want to take a broader view about the role of cloud in the fourth industrial revolution. So my question is, how does cloud help firm thrive during the fourth industrial revolution?
Yeah, so now that we're in the fourth industrial revolution, I mean, I think I grew up in kind of the the 80s and 90s when we had still the mainframe systems, and so you probably figure out how old I am, but I grew up, we didn't have cloud yet, right? And I think like right now, I mean, even the fourth industrial revolution, we were talking about like artificial intelligence, we're talking about self-driving cars, and especially here in the US, really innovative companies like Tesla, and there's so many innovations that are happening that the fourth industrial revolution is really going to change the way that businesses have to service their customers. So I think for those of us who are of this generation, especially I think if you're a young millennial, you're growing up in an era that's very exciting, I think, where you have all the technology at your fingertips, and now, I mean, you look at what the pandemic did, Johnson, but the pandemic really forced young people to really like go to school on Zoom, for me growing up, like the thing about like, going to school and seeing your friends and your teachers, being in the classroom, that was what school is all about. But now you see this generation, especially, a year of like really just doing online school. And I feel that that's really going to require a lot of companies now to really kind of think about how are they going to attract talent from this generation. And it's funny, we started talking about this because here in the US, with the pandemic just raging across the country, a lot of companies had to allow their staff and their employees to work from home. And now that the country is opening back up again, there's a lot of people who got used to working from home. So now as a company, how do you attract the talent and retain the talent while still kind of offering that flexibility of working from home, but yet certain jobs, you do need people to be in the office and people to interact with each other. So I think with the cloud-based technologies right now, Jensenbot, and the fourth industrial revolution, I think the pandemic really threw like a crazy situation in there where it's really going to be interesting, I think, for the rest of 2021 to kind of see what happens when the world opens back up again. So for us here in California in the United States, we're actually opening back up in the middle of June. So I think for me, I'm really excited to kind of see, how is that going to impact people going back to work, now where they don't have to drive an hour to get to the office. Now, how is that going to really affect how companies change their work policies and how consumers are going to expect certain things now from businesses? Yeah.
Thank you. So I want to take a look at the case of Cambodia with the cloud technology. What role does cloud technology play in Cambodia visions of becoming a high-income country in 2050?
Yeah, great question. So, wow, 2050, that's like 30 years from now. I think it's a great vision, and I definitely feel it's doable. So when we look at Cambodia specifically, I think with the digital economy and of course, again, my role as being an advisor, with you and the team at the Center for Inclusive Digital Economy, Chansambat, it's something that I'm really passionate about. I feel that with Cambodia having that vision, definitely, I think the digital literacy, I think it starts definitely at a very young age. And I've already seen that a lot of families, are embracing that, especially now with the pandemic. A lot of parents who grew up not having an iPad or a computer or not knowing what Zoom is, I think a lot of parents have had to learn technology because of their children. The children are doing online schooling. I also see that a lot of companies are having to switch over and really adopt a lot of these technology-based solutions so that they can continue to deliver products and services, to their customers during a pandemic. And I also really feel that the literacy, I think, especially with the young generation now, I think English fluency, and this is something I've talked about in my previous kind of years in Cambodia, is I feel that in order for us as a nation to really get there, I think the fluency in English is really important, especially in careers in technology. I feel that that's a huge one. I think that if you can have the fluency in English, it can really allow you to learn a lot of different cloud-based technologies. It will allow you to really kind of be a part of that economy. Also, too, I think it's important for us to never forget the underserved population. So the elderly population in Cambodia, the population who are in rural provinces where maybe connectivity might not be as available for them. How do we make sure that the rural populations are also included? Women, right? And how do we actually really drive women to be part of this digital economy? I feel that technology is such a wonderful industry where it really allows women to still have a thriving career in technology, but then also be at home as a devoted wife and mother. And that's something for me, Chansamat, that I'm really passionate about. I think especially for myself as a Cambodian woman. And I understand that, as a woman, you have a very strong and important role as a head of the family, the community, right? And so a lot of women that I talk to, sometimes it's kind of a battle between, okay, my career or my family. And I feel that at times for women, it's a little bit challenging for us because of the pressures that we face, in order to really kind of, have that place as that how do you say it? Like the glue to the family. But I strongly feel that the digital economy has so much opportunity for women to really do both jobs and really do it well.
Thank you so much. I totally agree with you in terms of this critical role that women play in the family, in the economy, and also in every nation as a whole. So that leads me to my very last question, and I want to get a little bit personal, if you don't mind.
Okay.
What advice would you give to young girls who are watching out there right now, who aspire to become a leader, a female leader in the tech sector, like you? What skills should they what skill should they possess in order to succeed in this sector?
Okay, thank you, John Sabat. Yeah, no, I love that question. Thank you so much. I think as a woman, and I think also understanding our kind of cultural upbringing as well as Khmer, um, I think it's not so much the skills, but I think it's more of having like the correct mindset and kind of the correct attitude towards it. I really love that Cambodia has so many wonderful programs that really promote young girls into technology. I know in the past, I've been very honored to be a part of Technovation Cambodia, where, you know, we see just amazingly smart young girls, and they're also like really looking at technology and how they can be a part of that and how they can use technology to solve social issues. I love that. So I think for the young women, if there's any programs in Cambodia or outside of Cambodia, anything that you can get your hands on, really jump into it, really get involved, be a part of it. If you have younger sisters, nieces, daughters, you know, really encourage girls to really get out of that, because I hear a lot of the um, misconception is when they say when a lot of Cambodian families, especially like IT, they think that IT is you're just fixing computers and you're just like troubleshooting, and I just want everyone to know that like IT is such a big industry, that it's not just the IT that parents think about. So I think for young women, have that mindset where you want to learn and you are a student. And I think it's called having a growth mindset, right? Where you're always thinking like, you don't know everything. You know, when you get to that point where you feel like you always want to learn new skills, you want to approach, you know, new challenges, I think that's really where you're going to grow, Chansambat. So for me, I think the skills part, the hard skills, yeah, I mean, you can go and learn how to code. You can go to school to become a software engineer, to become a data scientist, to become, you know, the best in technology. But one thing that I feel that young women, we need to have is like that, the things that they don't teach us in school, the things that we have to learn on our own, whether we have a mentor, we have a role model, we have someone that we can talk to, because I think as women, we go through sort of a different journey, Chansabat, from men. And I really mean that from my honest experience. I think for women, we deal with a lot more pressures from family, especially when we get to a certain point in our career where it's time to start a family. Sometimes we feel that, you know, we don't want to miss the boat because we're so focused on building our career that we miss the boat on family. And I think sometimes too, I mean, yeah, we can get personal, but you know, for me myself, I've gotten to get used to some of the comments. You know, I think especially in our culture, and I don't think that people say it in a mean or how do you say it, like mean way. I think generally in our culture, especially from our elders, I think they say it with love and care. But I think as a woman, it is expected that, you know, you do start a family, that you get married, you know, you become a mother, and then once you become a mother, then then you kind of you're expected to put your family first. You know, a lot of those things that I think men, of course, men have their own pressures to be the man of the family, to be a good husband, to be a good father. But I feel that for women, we tend to get a bit more pressure from that. And my advice to the young women is really listen to your own heart, and don't let other people's judgment and other people's fear be projected onto you, because I feel that only you know what's best for your future, and only you know when is the right time for you to start a family or to have children or whatever. So don't let other people's opinions bother you. It used to bother me a lot, Chansabat. I'll be honest, it used to bother me a lot. I would get very upset and I would get a bit offended, you know. But after a while, I learned that, you know, I should not let other people's opinions matter, because at the end of the day, they are not living my life. they are not having my career, they are not having my experience. And so I smile, and when it comes to personal questions, I kind of just answer very respectfully, but then I just find a way to still do the things that I love. And at the end of the day, it's your happiness, and you cannot let other people put too much pressure on you.
Thank you so much for your a very insightful and candid perspective on
Yeah.
technology, on cloud-based solutions, and also on the roles of women in the tech sector. So this is the end. This is the end of the fifth installment of the Digital Talk series. I want to thank our guest, Ms. Sapalin, for talking to us this morning. We really thank you so much. We really appreciate your insights. I also want to thank our audience for tuning in. If you're looking for more information about the Digital Talk series or AVI activities, please subscribe to our Facebook page, Telegram channel, Twitter, and other social media platform. Again, thank you for joining us, and I will see you very soon. Again, very soon. Please have a nice day and be safe.
Thank you. Take care.